The following is a conversation with Trevor Jones, a visionary artist whose career is a profound demonstration of perseverance and creative evolution. His path is one of unexpected turns, tracing a journey from a restless nomadic life to finding the artistic voice as a form of healing. Trevor's work is a testament to his innovative nature, as he was an early pioneer in the use of augmented reality in his paintings. His journey into the NFT space has been a roller coaster of profound ups and downs. However, he transformed this experience into a creative fire, leading him to create a crypto-themed exhibition that became a turning point in his career. His first Ethereum Girl collaboration with artist A Lot of Money sold for $10,000, and his Bitcoin Angel Open Edition generated over $3 million in just 7 minutes, a moment that catapulted him into the digital art spotlight. He also used his success to organize castle parties to raise funds for cancer charities like Maggie's. This is a powerful discussion about finding your purpose, embracing new technology, and navigating the art world with a firm belief in community and the transformative power of art. And now, without further ado, this is my conversation with Trevor Jones.
How you doing, man?
Good, man. How you been?
Good. Yeah, busy.
Yeah?
Just working away on projects. Just finished the Edinburgh Art Fair on the weekend. Violet
Okay.
was there. She had her stand. I was showing the big triptych, the Titanium Angel with the AI real-time generating video, blowing people's minds with art and tech. There, you don't get much more conservative than the Edinburgh art market. So it was fun.
Yeah, I was about to say, I bet they think that's pretty interesting to see digital art there.
Yeah, exactly.
They're like, what is
It's
this?
It is funny because I actually kind of started my journey in a sense there back in probably about 2012, 2013. I'd been working on my QR code paintings at that time, and and there was nobody who was interested in them in the art world here. Commercial galleries, or I'd submit them to the Royal Scottish Academy Open Exhibition and Visual Art Scotland, and there was absolutely zero interest. So I called up Andy. I didn't know him at the time. I just emailed him and said, look, I'm an artist here and I've got some weird tech inspired paintings that you can scan with a smartphone. And he's like, okay, that's interesting. I said, can I show them there? I don't have any money for a stand. And he said, like, I can find you some space. So he got me a little space, and I put my paintings up, and yeah, people hated them, but that was the beginning of a long journey.
People hated it.
Yeah.
How did they respond?
Like, why? Why would you paint QR codes? I mean, the selling art there is, essentially landscapes, kind of pretty Scottish scenes with some sheep, some seascapes, maybe some city scenes of Edinburgh. So putting up QR code paintings and asking people to download an app, because at that time, you had to have a QR code app reader. So to scan the painting, that would then take you to a website that was like an online platform for artists who could upload their own artwork and have their contact details and share their work online through socials, that kind of thing. They're like, what's the point of that? I want I want a landscape that looks nice in my house. But it was fun. It
That's
was depressing, but it was fun.
Yeah, I feel like art fairs are interesting because you get such a interesting diverse crowd of people. You get like the people who have no interest in art and they're just stuck there, but then they find art that they love.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting audience.
Have you shown much at art fairs in
I
America?
actually have never done an art fair before.
No, you're lucky.
No. Yeah, yeah. I'm too afraid of the crowd, man.
Poor Violet. She had her stand, and I mean, she's been through me, from the beginning,
Yeah.
uh, and so she knows the ups and downs and the emotional turmoil you go through, and the rejections, and the constant, question of yourself, and who you are and what you're doing, and why are you such an idiot trying to be an artist and, making a living with selling art. That's crazy. So
Right.
she knows that, but this was her first real kind of big, and she's shown some work at some smaller galleries around Edinburgh, and she's showing at NFTs and that kind of thing. It sold, quite well, build up a collector base in the Web3. But this was her first real big solo show, and things she'd been working on for the last 2 years, a huge collection of 25 paintings. And she sold one piece, and it was like in the first half hour of the opening night on Thursday. And we're both going like, yes, it's gonna be huge, it's gonna be amazing.
We're gonna kill it.
And that gonna kill it, absolutely kill it. It's like, this is it, you found it. But yeah, that was the only piece that sold for the entire fair. So we finished on Sunday, and she was absolutely devastated. And I'm trying to give her all the old advice. It's like, well, it's not you, it's them.
Right.
It's. I mean, she's painting large portraits of that have a theme of kind of the impacts of social media, the negative impacts of social media on, especially on young girls, and propaganda and news, but through the idea of portraits, female portraits, and very colorful. Um, and again, people aren't interested in that at an art fair, at that kind of an art fair. So, but there's nothing I can say to make her feel better. Just get a couple bottles of wine and cry our ways through
A
back to
couple bottles of
the
wine.
studio again.
I feel like the sales part of art is like one of the hardest parts because we're artists and we're so passionate about our art, and then we try to turn it into a business, and it becomes stressful. It becomes debilitating sometimes. It's not
Mm,
easy. How do you? So you originally sold art before NFTs, and
yeah.
I saw like I only have like a Wikipedia on you, and there was a couple other things. So it was like you originally were doing music, is what I was seeing.
No, that's not exactly. Yeah, that's whoever made that
I
Wikipedia
love the
page is.
Wikipedia is completely off. It
Yeah,
says
it's
you were
completely off.
originally a musician. I'm like, I
No,
never heard this before. I'm like,
no, no, no,
I'm like, I didn't know Trevor was a
no.
musician before this.
I, I was I picked up bass guitar when I was 16, and I was just consumed by, when you're that age, you just like all in on something. And
Obsessed,
so
yeah.
yeah, absolutely obsessed. And I was ready to like quit high school at 16 to be a rock star. And my mom and dad like, so I'm like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I was listening to Motley Crue and White Snake and Cinderella. I'm going like, I can do that. Grew
Yeah.
my hair long, wearing my ripped jeans and my AC/DC ripped t-shirt, concert shirts. And um, luckily I stayed in school. I didn't quit. I was so close to, it's like, but my dad basically smacked me and said like, you're not going to quit. So I graduated. As soon as I graduated, I moved down to Vancouver from the little village I grew up in to be a rock star. And I basically struggled for a year and a half. Lost like tons of weight because I had no money, no food. And I thought, this is really not working out. I got a message from my old bass guitar teacher, and he said, we're looking for a bass guitarist. Violet laughs at this story all the time. And at that time, I mean, I was going nowhere at all. I mean, it was like just, I was working in a little kind of stereo store, actually in a photo finishing developing department. Trying to, I didn't know what I didn't, anything about music. I just knew that I wanted to play. I didn't have any contacts. I didn't know how, it's a lot like art in that sense. But, um, I think a lot of artists starting out, you don't know what you don't know. But anyway, yeah, all I knew that is that I was starving, and literally, and I had an offer to play in a band back home in the town I grew up in. It happened to be a Christian rock band.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so I wasn't. I mean, I was raised Catholic. I was at church every Sunday, catechism. I did all that, but I hadn't been to church in a long time. By the time I was like 18, 19, 20. And so I came back, and I just thought this would be a great experience. And they were exceptionally, exceptionally talented musicians. But I lasted 6 months, and I could think we both came to the realization that I didn't fit in a Christian rock band.
Yeah, I feel like a prerequisite for being a Christian rock band means you probably go to church, you know?
Yeah. I tried. Anyway, so that was the extent of my music career. It started badly and it ended quickly.
That's amazing. And then how did it transition into your art form?
Well, in school, high school, I never, I enjoyed art. I was talented. I had skills. So, but I never planned on being an artist. I took art classes because they were easy. I didn't even really have to show up. I just finished a project the night before and hand it in and do all right for my grades. So, yeah, I was never planned to be an artist. It wasn't until, I left traveling, around 25, 26 years old. And I get first started off in Australia, New Zealand, and then I went, back home for a bit, then started traveling around the UK, and that opened up my eyes to actually see galleries and architecture and history. The village I grew up in was 1,200 people and near the Rocky Mountains. I mean, there was like literally nothing there except trees and bears. So it was a enormous culture shock for me, and that's when I started going to galleries. Again, still not thinking that I would become an artist. It wasn't, I just enjoyed it. I just liked looking at art, even though I knew nothing about it. Uh, and then early 30s, I had essentially a nervous breakdown. Was just partying hard, going crazy here in Edinburgh. I'd been working in restaurants, forever. That's how I traveled around the world, and hit a crossroads, kind of had this, um, crises, and decided that art would save me. And yeah, it's so cliche. It's just ridiculously cliche. I went to the doctor. She said, like, you're, suffering from depression. Um, like, put me on antidepressants for 9 months. I don't think they really helped at all. But as soon as I could, I was able to. I went to this little art school called Leeds School of Art here in Edinburgh and applied to the foundation year. I essentially I cried my way into it. Uh, they let me in. I did a foundation year and then managed to get into Edinburgh College of Art for a 5 year MA in drawing and painting and history of art at the university. So yeah, I graduated when I was 38 years old. I wasn't depressed anymore at that point, but I was thinking, like, I just ruined my entire life. I've spent my 30s studying art. I've got nothing but an art degree and a master's student loan, and now I have no idea what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
It's like, what am I going to do now with an art degree at 38?
Yeah, it's like, man, what am I doing? But yeah, I can't complain. It's all worked out, but it was definitely, yeah, a very, very difficult time of my life.
So I don't want to date you, but what year was this roughly?
It's okay. I'm old.
I'm old.
That was I graduated in 2008, so that was what, 17 years ago.
Okay, so
Yeah, yeah,
2008, so that's economy is collapsing, housing crisis. So
yeah.
where,
It's gonna get worse.
so you've graduated now with a useless art degree.
And the crazy thing as well, like, while I was studying from 2002, I did the foundation year, then 2003 to 2008. So that 6 year period. At that point, Royal Bank of Scotland was smashing it. I mean, it was, Sir Fred Goodwin was the CEO. I mean, he was doing tons of dodgy dealings. He turned this little bank into the third most powerful bank in the world in a very short amount of time, and was all part of that entire, system that collapsed the economy. So at that time, they were going out and buying art, like every single exhibition that was opened up, every commercial gallery in Scotland. It was just being like they're opening up offices all around the world, and they wanted Scottish art. So I'm thinking, like, this is great. I'm gonna graduate, and I'm right in the boom of being an artist in Scotland. And literally the year I graduated, the whole thing collapsed, and there was no more art buying from the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Just literally as you get this whole plan, it just
Yeah.
completely falls apart. It's like the worst case scenario.
Yeah, yeah.
So what do you do now? How do you pick? So you went into art school because of depression. You graduate art school. I can't imagine how you're not depressed finding out that the world's collapsing. So how do you come out of this? What happens next?
I managed to land a great job, right, actually, literally 2 months before graduating. I applied for a job, running a small arts charity called Art and Healthcare, and based in Edinburgh. Actually, it was assistant director, and I went through the interview. I'd always worked in restaurants, for the most part. So I mean, there was never really interviews. You just show up and you get a job or not. So I was so nervous. When I'd finished it was probably about an hour long interview, a little bit longer. And I got up and I left, and my legs were so tight I could hardly walk the next day. Like there was just there. I was just so nervous, but I managed to get the job, and it really, I mean, it hit home because obviously the depression, and I was still dealing with these, kind of the aftermath of being terribly depressed. Um, and then getting a job that we had a huge inventory of original art by Scottish artists that we were putting into healthcare centers, hospitals, care homes all around the country, to make them a more livable, colorful place, which was is a big part of healing and the healing process. So that it just, I mean, it meant everything to me to be able to say, now, okay, I've got a degree. I'm going to try to become an artist, but at least I have a job that's in the art sector and is connected to something that's really meaningful to me. So that, yeah, definitely helped things through those deep, dark times.
And so are you making like a decent living? You're able to survive now
At
at
that
that
point,
time? Yeah, at
no,
that time.
no, no. I mean, it didn't pay a lot, honestly.
Okay. So
So
you're
I
still
was still,
struggling.
yeah, I was still at that point. I had about 4 jobs, so that was full time. I was teaching 1 or 2 evenings, or sorry, Saturdays all day at Lee School of Art, and one evening. I pick up a couple evening shifts waitering, um, and yeah, and that basically kept me going throughout. I mean, I was working at least 3 to 4 jobs right up until 2015, so 7 years after graduating.
Okay. And so are you still doing your art on the side still?
Yes, yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
I'm working towards solo exhibitions each year.
Okay.
I had my first solo show in 2010. I had a joint show in 2009, another solo show in 2011. So like literally working 7 days a week, 14-hour days
Well,
just
that's what I
to
was gonna
pay
say.
the
Yeah.
bills and
How
get
are you
work together.
yeah, how are you pursuing your art while working 4 jobs? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. It was every minute I could, at
Yeah.
that point I had a spare room. I was renting basically a student flat. There was another student there, and another spare room that the owners didn't want it to be rented out, so I turned that into a little studio so I could paint. So every time I was home, I'd just be painting towards a solo show.
And do you think the painting probably helped you from getting more depressed with dealing with all this?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the thing, when I decided for whatever reason it came to my head that art would save me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a dark, dark times. Um, I was thinking like, if this doesn't improve fairly quickly, I'm gonna have to call it a day type thing.
Right.
Um, so when I managed to get into this foundation year at Lee School of Art, it was that, especially that year in the first year at Edinburgh College of Art, that I was able to come to the realization that what the art did save me in some ways. It gave me the ability to, when you're it's like when you're out with your camera and you're looking at something, and whatever it is, you're not thinking about the mistakes you made in the past, or the future and the anxiety you have for what might be, or what mistakes you're going to make in the future. And so when I'm picking up a pencil or drawing or a paintbrush, or you're in that moment, and being in that moment gives especially a broken body and mind and soul the time to find respite and to heal, because you're not thinking about the past and the future. You're literally in the moment. um and that's what art gave to me. At the same time, the more I studied art at art college, and the more I looked and learned, the more questions I had about everything. I was thinking that that art would answer all those big existential questions that I had about life and the meaning of life and why I want to kill myself and it just gave me more questions, which I guess is probably not a bad thing either.
What, and I don't want to like pry too deep, but was it a clinical thing or was it just, a product of environment, inherent?
Ye I come from a long line of alcoholics, drug abusers, and mental illness,
Got you.
mostly on my mom's side. So I didn't realize it. My literally 2 or 3 years before I hit that depression, my older brother was diagnosed, bipolar,
Okay.
and, he was in and out and has been in and out of hospitals on lithium. I mean, it's not been a good situation at all. It's been horrible. So, for the whole family, but that scared me even more because when I went to the doctor, um, I'll kind of fill you in on the story. So it's
Yeah.
funny now looking back at it. At the
Yeah.
time, it was frightening, but I was running I was managing a small restaurant bar in Leith, and it was a Friday night, and I'd been feeling stressed for a while, but always, you holding it in, and I didn't really, I thought like it's, I'll get over it. I'll get over it. I'll get over it. And then Friday night comes around, things are just starting to pick up. It's about 8 o'clock at night. And my heart just starts beating super fast. I'd never had a panic attack in my life. Um, there was this sense of dread and fear, and massive anxiety. And so I went to the bartender. I said, like, "Look, I have to go." He's like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I have to go." He was like, "What? Go out for a smoke or something?" It's like, "No, I'm leaving. I'm leaving." And I just quit right there on the spot. And I walked home. I spent that Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday in bed crying, uncontrollably, and I had no idea what was wrong. And I was also thinking about my brother. I'm going, "Oh my god, like, it's got me now too. I'm gonna be on
Yeah.
lithium for the rest of my life." So I went to the, first thing, I was, like, up early Monday morning to the walk-in clinic when they're, like, before they even open up, and, I got in, looking around, sitting in the waiting room, first one there, and eventually the doctor calls me in, and she's like, she knew I knew her, a little bit. She's like, "Hi, Trevor, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Not well."
Yeah.
And she
Not
was like,
doing
"What's
so good.
wrong?" Not doing good at all. I said, like, she was like, "What's going on?" And I said, like, I don't know." I said, like, but I was looking out, at the different posters on the wall and things, and I saw this one poster on the wall in the waiting room, and I had all these symptoms, and I said, like, "I've got them all, almost all of them." I said, like, I'm crying for no reason. I've lost my appetite. Nothing makes me happy. The anxiety is like killing me. And I listed about kind of 8 things. I said, "I've got all of them but one." And she's like, "What is that?" I said, "I'm not pregnant."
That's
And I
great.
burst out laughing and crying at the same time, and she was, like, kinda laughing as well. She's like, and then we started talking. She was like, "Hey, you don't have, you're not bipolar. You're just depressed, clinically depressed." And, yeah, like I said, went on antidepressants for 9 months. I don't really know if they helped or not, but the art did get me through the ability to focus on the present and not to
Yeah.
be completely going crazy over whatever everything else that was in my head.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot of artists do have a background where they find like therapy within their art form. I grew up with both my parents were drug addicts, alcoholics. My mom was in and out of prison for alcoholism. She would DUIs, you know, theft, everything. So I remember when I picked up the camera for the first time and looking through the viewfinder and everything just kind of like turned off. And it's not like, like family photos. I mean, like landscapes, like going out, the first time, like to Big Sur and like capturing the coastline and looking through the viewfinder and just all the stresses, all the anxiety, all the anger, all
Mhm.
the, trauma just immediately turns off. And for those few hours that you're capturing that moment and trying to really, um, you know, make it perfect within the camera, everything else doesn't matter. And the only thing
Yeah,
that matters right now is what you're doing. And I think I think so many other artists can resonate with that. But when it comes to like actual clinical depression, it's another level that I think that you have to overcome because you're not only battling, like past childhood trauma and things like that, but now you have to overcome this new trait that you're not really even sure how to battle it, what to do with it. Um, so when you're working on your art and you're trying to, conceptualize what you're creating, do you believe that any of that trauma kind of enters into your work in a way? And is it kind of shown in the work, if that makes sense?
I haven't really thought about it. Um,
I'll give you an example. Just
Like, okay, but first off, actually, I was wanted to ask you a question. You're
yeah.
talking about you're out with in the landscape, and everything just kind of becomes crystal clear, focused. Do you think also that the landscape itself gives you something, and also puts you and your life and your physical body in context of a much bigger thing? That the landscape almost it contextualizes life in such a way that um, you feel insignificant and in awe of the landscape, but not in a bad way, in a way that you're able to kind of, I don't know, come to conclusions about yourself and your life within that space that give you meaning and reason to continue.
I think because the landscape dictates my art, it's like a very humbling thing where when you grow up, I think with a lot of trauma, you have to develop armor.
Mhm.
And so you wear this coat of armor that may look like you're cocky or you're too confident. But when you're in a landscape and it humbles you and it breaks you down, you have no choice but to embrace the storm where I have a lot of control of my world. That's why I love
Mhm.
computers. I even like the camera because I can control my world with the camera. But when I'm out in the landscape, I have zero control of that.
Mhm.
It gives
Mhm.
me all the anxieties, all the, um, the uncertainties that come from that. But in that moment of clarity, I find like that childhood innocence that I didn't really have as a kid. It's like every kid wants to, run, have fun, do all, play catch. So when you're out in like these landscapes, it's a little piece of that melancholy, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. It's a little piece of just bringing you back to that innocence.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so like for example, like my stuff isn't dark. Like a lot of, like artists will create like dark images or I try to like saturate my images and make them really colorful and beautiful and I try to like portray what I see in my mind because I see like what I want to see is something very beautiful. I see this, incredible sunset. I see the ocean. I see the waves crashing. So all these things I want to put in my image and that helps me a little bit with the therapy because I think like I can control my world through that and make it more beautiful. I can make it
Mhm.
and that's where I think like my past childhood trauma comes in through my art where it's not dark and like an example is like songs, music. You'll a good song is always comes from like a really depressing place. Like you never hear like a happy song like Sunshine and stuff like that. And you're just like, wow, like you'll jam that out on your like in your car or whatever and like roll down the windows. But
What about the Beach Boys? Come
right.
on.
Yeah. Like, but if you want to feel something, you're going to throw
Yeah.
on Kurt Cobain. You're going to throw
Yeah.
on something that just like makes you feel, right? The Doors or something that's like poetry. So I think like with my art, like I try to make it a therapy for me and try to make it beautiful. But with yours, it's interesting because I do feel like there's like this biblical and angelical kind of like there's something to it that I feel like might stem from maybe like previous trauma or something that portrays through your work.
It's just being raised Catholic.
That's all it is, man. Just the guilt of Catholicism.
Yeah, feeling guilt. It's no deeper than that. Just the guilt and trauma of being raised Catholic. No, I mean, I, I was very lucky. I mean, I grew up a great life. My mom and dad, very loving, supportive, very supportive. Um, so yeah, I mean, and church, it was a part of my life when I was a big part of my life from the time I was born basically to probably 16, 17 when I stopped going to church because I was a obnoxious teenager who just wanted to do what I wanted to do.
As we all are.
Um, yeah, exactly. And it took a lot of years for me, and the art as well. That's my journey as an artist has been one of just pure experimentation. Th- that probably was, I I guess it's defined by a lot of different things. The fact that, okay, now I'm reaching 40 years old as a recent art graduate. I have to figure out how to make a living from my art. I don't want to keep on working part-time jobs at restaurants and part-time teaching for the rest of my
Yeah.
life. Um, I didn't know how I was, I was also a realist, and thinking that I would actually make a decent living from art was never, I never really thought about that. I thought, like, if I can just make a living from art, um, make enough that I can put a little bit away every so often. And by the time I'm 75 years old, I'll still be making art because artists never retire, but at least I won't have to worry about whether I keep the heating on or buy some food. That's like, that was my goal.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, it was always, after graduating, it was always thinking, how can I somehow, um, I guess, um, I knew that I would need to differentiate myself from other artists. I knew that I've been working part time while I was studying. I was also working every weekend as a technician at Lee School of Arts. So it was filled with great artists, who are also teachers and full time artists, and so I had years of talking to them,
Mhm.
all the way through my education, and seeing how literally impossible it was to make a living as a full time artist. So I never had this dream that it's like, going to be rich and famous. It was just like, how
Right.
can I potentially make enough money to pay the bills? And I also knew that I had to differentiate myself. So within a couple of years after graduating, I was painting abstract, very colorful abstracts inspired by music, synesthesia. I don't have, I'm not synesthetic, but I was intrigued by the this kind of concept of some people being able to see colors when they listen to music or musical notes, or to taste shapes, or to, the days of the weeks or the numbers have different colors and different, so
Have you tried acid? No, just
I tried it once when I was traveling through Africa, and I got ripped off. It didn't work. I paid $5 for something that was just a piece of paper. So no, I would be afraid now. You know, I did. That's actually, segue back to the depression. I did a lot of drugs between the ages of about 28 and 31. And that was when I was in Edinburgh. I'd smoked a little bit of weed when I was in high school in Canada, but I just never really enjoyed it. That made me a bit paranoid. I liked alcohol, but then I came into more things like ecstasy, and especially and got just, the rave scene here in Edinburgh. And yeah, for the next 3 years it was a complete blur. But what it also did was completely destroy the serotonin levels in my
I
brain.
was about to say, yeah, you just depleted all the serotonin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that, along with the fact that depression runs in the family,
Yep.
I was working ridiculously, amounts of hours at Hard Rock Cafe. All I did was work and party, and I
Oh, it's
didn't
the
sleep
perfect
for,
recipe.
yeah, yeah.
That's the
And then,
perfect
oh
recipe.
yeah, and then a lot of bad things happened. So I quit my job. I was disillusioned that my girlfriend left me for somebody else. I mean, all these different things. I was living with her, so I had to find a new place to live,
That's
and the
the
whole thing just
worst.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it was inevitable.
Yeah, I feel like this was the perfect recipe for somebody who is just going to end up in just an absolute depression zone.
Yeah, yeah. I went all in on that.
It's funny that
Oh,
you
sorry,
mentioned.
sorry about it. I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I I don't think things like hallucinogenics work well.
Yeah,
I get, you have the different types of minds, different types of brains, and I think I am very controlling. And so even smoking weed, I'll become super paranoid. I'll just like hide in the corner and shake for a couple hours. I Unless maybe microdosing, possibly. I don't know. There's just if I think if I did acid, I don't know if I'd ever come back from it. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a 12-hour, I feel like, marathon with acid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
don't
did
know for
mushrooms
sure.
once when I was about 20, I think 24, 25, and that was about 8. I did too much. I was like in a horrible state for about 8 hours.
Yeah, I feel like hallucinogenics probably aren't meant for you.
No.
But that is a good way to materialize synesthesia.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
knows? Maybe I'll dabble just like tiny little bits and we'll see.
Well,
Anyway.
maybe the next conference will smoke a little DMT. But fast forwarding 2017, I think you were around there. So did you discover crypto? Like what happens next? It's kind of, so you're working a bunch of jobs, you're
Mhm.
doing all this shit. How are we getting out of this? What's next?
Well, actually 2015, I decided to take this massive leap of faith. So I'd been 7 years after of graduating, working tons of jobs.
Okay.
Um, I decided I just made this decision. I said, like, nobody ever becomes great by doing something a couple days a week. I said I needed to go full time. So I quit my job at the arts charity, which I loved, but I just knew that I couldn't work a full time job and really put my art first. I still taught part times on Tuesdays and Saturdays, and so that's it. I had a spare room, so I was doing Airbnb, and that actually brought in a decent enough money to help pay the bills. So that was 2015, and that was a horrible year because I worked again towards a solo show. I sold a few paintings, basically enough just to break even. I wasn't making enough money to really cover the bills. I actually had to borrow money from a couple friends to pay the rent a couple months, and then 2016 happened, and I had my Hail Mary. I decided to do this exhibition called "Would I Lie to You?" The art of politics and propaganda, and I created 12 portraits made of rubbish and oil paint of political leaders. That was on the run up to the Trump Hillary. Um, the yeah the so the, I think I painted Putin. I painted uh, Justin Trudeau. Um, uh, Boris Johnson,
Okay.
David Cameron,
Bunch
a
of
few others.
politicians.
Yeah, just a bunch of politicians made of rubbish. And then with augmented reality, because I've been exploring augmented reality for a few years already, I'll create an overlay of them talking rubbish. So you can scan the painting made of rubbish, and that was a 2 minute video or minute video of them talking rubbish. And I thought, I've been working with AR since 2013 and getting nothing but knockbacks. I need to take this global. So I need to do something that will generate mass publicity.
Mhm.
And I knew that on the run up to the election with Trump and Hillary, it was just, we're getting bombarded over here with information and news. So
Yeah.
I will try this as a way to generate publicity about here's an artist using new technology and creating, traditional oil paintings that you can engage with in different ways and different levels. And to my surprise, one guy bought the entire collection, and he was based here in Edinburgh. He'd been buying my work for a few years already, and he came in and said, "I want the whole collection." Um, so that completely blew me away. I got some decent media coverage, nothing crazy international, but I mean, the most important thing was I actually had some money for the first time in my life,
Yeah.
and it was I immediately, I'm fairly responsible, or at least at that point, I was probably when was that? 2015. So I was mid 40s,
All right.
and yeah, I've thought I'll need to invest this because I don't know when the next money is coming in from painting. So I started looking at different ways to invest my small nest egg, and Bitcoin was one of them. And I didn't buy in 2016. Unfortunately, I waited till June of 2017,
Okay.
and that's when I started to really kind of get into the philosophies of Bitcoin and also investing in it. And it was perfect timing because that was just the beginning of the 2017 bull run. So the next 6 months, I just put absolutely everything I had, my life savings, into Bitcoin, thinking, and it's just so naive, such a new. I thought this is amazing. I don't even have to sell paints. I can just paint whatever I want. I can do whatever I want with my art, and all I have to do is just make money from this amazing crypto space because it was
Freedom.
freedom, absolute freedom. Um, that time, I was going, okay, now I'm going to actually create a full on exhibition of crypto themed paintings because I didn't really see anything online of traditional oil painters creating paintings that were crypto themed, and especially with augmented reality, no commercial galleries were selling oil paintings that were crypto themed. I thought this is a very cool space. Just the excitement, the volatility, the craziness, the chaos, the every I was all I just spent, like most people when they get into this space, you're just consumed by it. You're online 15 hours a day. Like
Yep.
what's going on? And and so I thought, okay, I'm going to spend all of 2018. I started working on this exhibition the end of 2017 with the plan to have a show in October. And to my surprise and dismay, literally the 1st of January of 2018, the crypto bloodbath hit and Bitcoin just started crashing. Everything started crashing. And I had everything in crypto. And being a complete noob, I'm trying to trade up and trade shit coins, make my money back. And I lost everything in about 6 months. So I
So
didn't sleep. I didn't tell Violet. Violet, she knows the story now, but I'm surprised I didn't go into a deep depression then because everything I'd made, and a lot more through Bitcoin 20 times or whatever it did, I lost everything. And now I was all in on a crypto themed exhibition in the depths of a bear market.
Dude, I feel like every time you make a step forward, you take like 2 or 3 steps back.
Yeah, story of my life.
Wow.
But
Okay,
I,
so that's crazy. So you basically gamble all of it away in 6 months that you had. You're stuck in a crypto show now. Everything's crashing. What the fuck, man? Okay, so what's next? This is fun.
um, at that point, I started. So I started showing my work in progress paintings on Twitter. I got a message from somebody from Manchester who was organizing the Coin Fest, Manchester Coin Fest, and at that point, I'd never even heard of crypto conference or anything like that.
Yeah.
Um, so he said, like, would you like to come down and show some work? I said, sure. So I went down, spent a few days at this Coin Fest, started to get to meet people because I'd not even met anybody in real life in the crypto space. It was all online. Some more artists were kind of popping up here and there, and like Coldy and A Lot of Money and Hakatow. I started to see them and and just kind of have some conversations. And then I was invited to the Bitcoin conference in June 2019 by Crypto Graffiti, and that was a real eye opener because that's when I met Coldy, for example, and there was a handful of artists at that time that were like literally sticking artwork on the walls with blue tack and stuff like that, trying to get,
Yes.
hey, look at our crypto themed art, and nobody cared. Um, but I managed to sell a few prints and one actual painting. Um, so that brought in a little bit more money. So I was able to keep on going for a few more months. And then I think it was August or September, um, somebody from Canada, some random, messaged me and wanted to buy my Satoshi Nakamoto painting, oil painting that was in the exhibition in October. I said, like, yeah, absolutely. But I need to keep it for the exhibition. I can't send it to you um, until like November. And he said, yeah, that's fine. So I think at that time, he sent me 2 Bitcoin, which was about 5,000 pounds worth. And I'm going like, holy smokes, I literally made a 5,000 pound sale, which was 2 Bitcoin at that time. and there's no middleman. I don't have to pay 50% commission to the art gallery, the commercial art gallery. And yeah, that was August. And then September, Motorats messaged me, and he liked one of my the larger painting, which was even more expensive. And he paid, yeah, I think he gave me some like two and a bit Bitcoin for this, the Hodler painting. And so that kept me going until the exhibition opened up in October. And then literally everything sold from that show to randoms online. And now I was like, okay, now I can't completely lose all this money. I need to play it safe. But I still traded and lost, lost even more. So I've finally learned my lesson. Just hodl. That's
Just
it.
hold. Yeah.
Stop this. Yeah.
W- So were you minting the work? Were you minting your art before the exhibition?
No, no,
Okay.
no. Sorry. Yeah. So that was, oh, sorry. I've got my timings right. That wrong. That was 2018 that I had the exhibition. So that was 2019 when, during it was still the bear market.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got things mixed up there. So yeah, it was actually the August of 2018 when, this guy and Motorats were buying my art with Bitcoin. So there was, yeah, it was completely new for me. I didn't know anybody in the space. I didn't know
Yeah.
any other artists. It wasn't until late 2018, early 2019 when I started to become more familiar with other people in the space, other artists.
So what was the first platform that you used to mint your work?
Super rare.
Okay.
So that was end of 2019. I had my first drop, Genesis drop. It was a ETH Girl collaboration with A Lot of Money. I'm just going to get a glass of water. Two
Yeah, dude.
seconds, please.
Take your time. Well, I've seen everything crash while we're doing this.
What happened?
I love watching crypto crash while we're
Oh,
doing
no.
this. Good times.
Yeah.
So, fast forward a little bit. So 2019, you're onboarded onto Super Rare. You've got some crypto. Have you read the white paper, any of that stuff? Like, do you understand, like, are you crypto native? Do you like crypto? What's the story with that?
Yeah, I mean, by that time I'd been in the crypto space for, well, since June 2017. So, you know, 2.5 years. Um, in all honesty, like it was for me, first and foremost, it was about uh inspiration for art, and the ability to open up to this new market of people around the world who were starving for art that represented who they were. You know, I have no idea the who these people were, or actually even how much money they had,
Yeah.
which was a lot. And they could go, and I'm sure like a lot of these big collectors can go buy a whatever Modigliani or a Caravaggio or a Picasso, but to be able to create artwork that was crypto themed, and paintings, traditional oil paintings with a tech side to it, um, they embraced me wholeheartedly in that. So yeah, it's been over the years that I've just become more and more um, aware of everything that the space has to offer, and even that has changed, things like the way I look at life and the world. I'm definitely more libertarian in my thoughts and processes than previously. I'm very questioning of centralized institutions. I'm not uh, full on libertarian. I still think that there's value in centralized institutions, but crypto has definitely changed the way I do view the world. Or you know,
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I got into crypto. Next thing I was like, is the earth really flat? I was like, is Bigfoot real?
yeah. Oh God, you've met Violet. She is like the biggest conspiracy theorist in the world. It's like every single day, she's like, Trevor, you'll never guess what. And I don't know where she gets her information from, but
I believe it.
it's not. I mean, whether it's Alex Jones or random websites, she gets everything first. I'm like, "Hon, you got to just turn the internet off because you literally like, put that tinfoil hat on." She's hilarious, but
What's funny is how I found NFTs was I used to so me and my buddies were on Clubhouse and we were members of Troll Team 6 and we would start rooms like Flat Earth, convince me otherwise, Scientology is real. Like all these just ridiculous rooms to
you're just a
just
troll.
yeah, because it's the middle of the pandemic. We're literally playing Call of Duty every day, like trading stocks. We're just like, dude, let's go on Clubhouse and troll. And so it's one night I'm like on there closing up the flat Earth room, and I see an NFT photography room, and I'm like, well, I've heard of NFTs from that Gary Vee guy, and I love photography. Let's see what this is all about.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like
And
life changing.
when was that in 2021?
20, I think, yeah, 2021, like maybe February of 2021.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Because I had bought some virtual land, so I had like so I kind of understood NFTs, but when I
Hmm.
saw it, it was like, wait, there's art involved in this. I didn't know that you could put art, on the blockchain. I didn't even fully understand even what the blockchain was. Like I had a little bit of crypto because I'd bought some like ETH and Bitcoin, but I had no clue of where this was going. Did you see the potential when you got involved? Like, did you think there was going
No,
to be anything from this, or was this just a revenue stream?
yeah. Initially, I saw it. I saw it, like I said, as a revenue stream, um, and finding a new market of people who were interested in art and crypto.
Yeah.
Um, Even after the first sale with ETH Girl, my first NFT, and that absolutely smashed it. It was the end of 2019, and I think the highest selling NFT at that point was about $1,400, and we started off our auction. I can remember as clear as day. I'm talking to a lot of money. Philippe and I, and we're chatting. I'm going like, look, I know nothing about NFTs. I know of them, but I don't know how. I own crypto, but I don't know how to mint an artwork. So can you hold my hand and help me through this process? Well, let's do this collaboration. He's like, absolutely. He goes, I've been waiting for this for ages. We know each other for about a year already, and so we mint ETH Girl. It was a large oil painting inspired by Picasso's Girl with a Mandolin, with a big ETH symbol behind, and there's some different crypto references within the painting itself, Twitter bird and all that. And he animated it, kind of broke apart like a cubist style painting, and there was Picasso behind, or an eye portrait of digitized pixelated Picasso face. And so we mint it. I mint it, and we go to bed. It was like late here, and wake up in the morning, and this crazy auction has been going on between, I think, Basilia started it, a few other people, and then Motor Rats and Whale Shark got in on it, and it was like something like 50 ETH.
Oh my God.
By the time I woke up at like 7 in the morning, and it kept on going, it finally ended at 70 ETH, for which was at that point $10,000. So Super Rare takes their 20%. We split 8 grand. We have $4,000 each, and we're like, holy crap, this is crazy. This is incredible. It was, and I think it was a moment in time for me and for him and for probably a lot of other artists in the space, that we really can make a living
Yeah,
from selling digital art on the blockchain. To sell something for $10,000 was just, it was mind blowing.
it's insane.
Hmm.
You went from selling physicals to JPEGs.
Yeah, yeah.
It's yeah. How
It
did you
was.
wrap? Yeah, how did you wrap your mind around this? I mean, this must have been a lot to take in.
I still, at that time, I was still skeptical
Yeah,
with the whole JPEG thing. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. I'm a traditional painter. I
right.
make oil paintings. I've dedicated 6 years of education and a student loan to create, to kind of connect with the history of art,
Yeah,
of thousands of years tradition, and now I'm selling a JPEG and making more money from that than my oil paintings. It makes no sense. It did take a while to get my head around.
yeah, I can imagine. And then was there like so? Now there's like obviously like a lot of dialogue, a lot of conversations. Was there anything happening back then? Was there anyone talking about what was going on? What was the conversation like on Twitter and just the world?
It was, I mean, it was still early. There was, again, a handful of people really, by late 2019. Things really started to pick up early 2020. Um, that's when, was it July 2020 when I did my Bitcoin bull drop on Nifty Gateway.
Yeah.
So, um, that was actually a funny story. I got an Instagram message, January in 2020. So after the ETH girl drop, and I never used Instagram. Um, I never used it back then. I had the account, and so I opened up my Instagram for some reason. So I had a message, and it's from Tyler Winklevoss, and I'm going like, this isn't real. It's like, and it
Yeah.
had a blue check. I'm going, this is a scam. And he was like, hey Trev, how you doing? Saw you, great, successful drop on super rare. My brother and I have just bought out this company called Nifty Gateway, and we'd love for you to be one of the artists on the platform.
Oh my
And
God.
I'm like, that's crazy. Also, it was like 3 weeks after he'd sent it. So I ghosted him for 3 weeks.
Dude.
I messaged him back. I'm like, Tyler, how you doing? Like, this sounds really exciting. I'm definitely interested in, but please, can you message me? Can you email me? This is my email, because I never use Instagram. Never heard from him. I didn't hear from him for ages. And then about 3 weeks later, again, I open up Instagram. There's another message from him. And he's like, okay, Trev, I'll, he said something else. And I'm like, dude, why are you messaging me on Instagram? I never use Instagram. Anyway, long story short, they finally got me in touch with Duncan and, gosh, I remember so bad, the Cock Foster twins. And we started chatting about, the drop. And because my work, um, always begins with a painting, I wanted to make this very special. I decided to paint a huge 140, it's like a 5 foot by 5 foot oil painting, that had all these crypto references and the Picasso's bowl. And so it took a long time, and then all the different animations, gold, silver, bronze, the 101. So we decided to go with July as the drop. But in the meantime, yeah, there was definitely a lot more chatter about, and at that time, things were starting to continue to pick up.
Yeah.
Pablo came onto the scene, the big collector, Pablo Frail, and we were talking more. He was the one who ended up winning the auction for the Bitcoin Bull for $55,000 in July. And again, that was another massive, massive sale. So we talked a lot, and he filled me in on his vision and kind of belief in the future of digital art. So that's when I really started to learn more about that. This isn't just some crazy JPEG scammy thing,
Yeah.
money laundering. That there really is opportunity here to be part of something that it could be life changing, and art changing.
Were collectors trying to and I'm not saying all collectors do this, but some collectors will try to tell artists how to drop, how to, control scarcity, to do pricing. Was that part of the dialogue back then? Was that happening a lot?
Um, Not with me. I know it has happened, or it does happen. I've
Yeah.
heard about it happening a lot. Um, I think, I don't know. I don't know why collectors. I think there were times when I did things and collectors weren't happy, but um, many times. But again, I always like to experiment and try new things. Um, I have at times, and I always ask advice too. I've asked different collectors. I'm very close with people like Batsy Yum and Barat, and so I'll reach out to them at times and say, like, what do you think about this? So I'll get their opinion. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to always listen to them, but and like Batsy Yum always says, like, I'm often wrong, and collectors are often wrong. And there
Yeah.
was a conversation I had with Pablo, when he'd given me some advice on a thing here or there, and it was wrong. It was bad advice. I don't hold it against him at all, but it just proved to me that, at the end of the day, you have to go with what you believe in. If you can um, build an idea and justify it, really justify it and think about objectively what you're doing, why you're doing it, and what the potential outcome, better or worse, can be. I think if you're able to do that, um, you know, don't just blindly follow the advice of big collectors, because they
Yeah.
are wrong just as much and often as you are.
Well, I think, and you won't hate them, but you'll have some type of not just regret, but I think that there'll be some animosity if you listen to someone and then price your work a certain way and it doesn't sell, or you're gonna not you're not going to want to have a relationship with that person the way that you had it before. So I think, like, when you're when you're asking someone for advice and you're trying to figure out, well, should I price my work this way or should I release this many? And they give you advice and it doesn't work out. There's just going to be so much animosity between you guys,
Mhm.
and I just feel like that's a hard one, because at the end of the day, the artist really does have to choose what they want to do. Because if you don't and you go with somebody else's and it doesn't work, you know how it works.
Yeah, and especially as an artist, you put so much, not just emotion but time and effort and money
Yep.
into working towards something. And I've always been a big believer of building big projects. I was never one just to do kind of like a singular drop for the most part. I mean, here and there I have, but um, it's more so in the beginning. But if you're going to put months and months and months of time into something, take advice from collectors, but again, don't blindly follow them. You have to you have to do what you want to do, because again, if it goes wrong, then yeah, there will be that, like, fuck, shouldn't have listened to Bat Soup Yum again. Just kidding.
Fucking bat soup. You said that there was a couple projects that may have pissed off a few collectors. Is there anything that comes to mind that you can remember that? Yeah.
Well, this is actually a good example. So my in end of 2020, I did a collab with Pac, and I'd already had like a massive drop with uh, a lot of money with our second collab, which was ETH Boy. Um, and then I did one with Jose Delbo, the creator, one of the early creators of Batman, and his grandson, uh, um, Nick Frontera, who's amazing, amazing guy, good friend. So it was like kind of on the back end of that. Things were really beginning to pick up in the space end of 2020. It still wasn't the craziness of 2021, but it was getting bigger and bigger and more volatile on the upward swing. So Pac and I did this collaboration, and it was quite extensive. There was 18 one-of-ones, singular images. I created 6 paintings, portraits of famous artists, framed. They were part of the whole package. Then there were 18. Then Pac created his Pac cubes type thing, like the Rubik's Cube, animations from my 6 paintings, which were one for each side of the cube. And we had three open editions. 2 were $500 each, and one was $5,000 each. And then there was a couple other kind of peripheral smaller things, and it was an enormous, enormous drop. I think it did like 1.3 million, which again just completely
Wow.
blew my mind. And I think we sold about 450 of each of the $500 open editions, and a 95 of the $5,000 open edition. And that was just like ridiculously crazy. Like, holy crap, this is like what just happened. And as soon as that drop ended, we had a couple big collectors, and I won't say their names, but they were furious. They thought because they'd already invested in me previously, in Pac previously, and they thought we just completely saturated the market. We've ruined our careers. We've lost them money. We've destroyed everything that they've invested in. um, we're just grifters. It's like, we just put it out there. We didn't tell
Just
people.
artists, man.
Yeah, we're just artists. We're just doing what we do. Um, and yeah, I mean, I back then, especially then, I was taking things very personally too. I've built up a much thicker skin since then, but there's
Yeah.
a lot of times that people would say something to me in DMs or online, and I mean, I was just devastated. I wouldn't sleep for days, and I'm thinking like, crap, I've ruined my career.
It's
You know,
over. Yeah.
it's all over. You know, at least
8
I'm
years
rich
of
now, but
school.
no.
At least I made some money.
But yeah, and then uh, things kind of settled down a little bit. And then I had my February 2021 drop, the from Pellet to Canvas, which also had the one open edition for the Bitcoin Angel,
Yep.
and that sold 4,158 editions. And again, that was just absolutely mind blowing. I remember that night, Violet and I were sitting on the couch. It was about to start. It was a 7-minute open edition, just 7 minutes.
No
And
way.
yeah, she took my phone and we had a glass of wine, we had a bottle of wine in front of us. She took my phone, she unzipped the pillow on the couch, put it in, zipped it back up, and said, "We are not looking at it until after 7 minutes." And so we just sat like, sipping our wine, like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna
I'd throw
happen?
up.
And then open the pillow, take the phone out, 4,158
At
editions
what
at
price?
777. So that was $3.2 million in 7 minutes.
Oh my God. That's
Yeah,
so
it
crazy.
was, I'm going like, what the heck? What
$3.2
the
million
heck?
in 7 fucking minutes. Wow.
It
What
was
what what
mental.
is what is happening at this moment? Like what okay, so you unzip the pillow, what happens?
I open up the phone and I look at the editions and I blink and I'm like, that can't be right. That's something's wrong with it. Something
Yeah.
wrong. So I go into
The
Twitter
site
and
broke.
all of a sudden everybody's confirming it. It's like going biggest drop in history. Crazy. 4,158 editions. It was actually 4,157. Niftygate made a wee mistake and they had to fix it, but ended up being
Yeah.
4,158. And I'm going like, what? The 3.2 million in 7 minutes is, and
Whew.
yeah, and then the hate comes in as well. Now every collector is going like, okay, you've just destroyed your career. You've
Fuck
saturated the
Trevor. Yeah.
market. It's like it's all over. And honestly, at that time, I did think again that even after the pack thing, I'm still really influenced by people's words, and
Bro,
I'm
who
thinking like
cares? You just paid $3 million. Who fucking
it's,
cares?
I'm feeling it, but I'm an artist. I don't want to
Right.
just
I get it.
go back to waitering or something, whatever it is,
Yeah, we're all
whatever.
sensitive and we don't want people to hate us. We're sensitive artists, bro.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I got a ton of hate for it. And then literally what a month and a half later, the the Bored Apes 10,000 come out.
Everyone
And
forgets
all of a
about
sudden
you.
then the whole PFP craze happens, and there's 10,000 drops happening literally 50 times a day. So again, what I realized and what I learned is that everybody has opinions, and everybody thinks they know what's going to happen, or some people think they know what the best thing or the worst thing is for an artist, but they don't know. And that proved to me that I should just do what I want to do,
Mhm.
and I'll take the blame. I'll take the knock. If it completely fails, that's on me. And if it's complete absolute success, it's great, but don't get mad at me because I saturated the market. Although, again, after that, there's always been tons and tons of discussions between artists and collectors online about scarcity versus abundance, and I have my opinions on that as well. And I think there is obviously value in scarcity, but then obviously Bat Soup Yum believes that artists should be doing free open editions to get their work out, because the world is only becoming more and more digital, and we're still early days in this space, and having edition of 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000, or that's not going to be anything in a population of 8 or 9 billion.
No, and it's interesting because I'm sure you're in a bunch of the artist group chats, and when these open edition momentum happens, or when 2021 happened, a lot of people didn't drop because they saw it as a cash grab, or they didn't want to create an overabundance of supply with their work. In these chats now, I hate to say it, but most of them regret it. Most of them sit there and say, man, I really should have dropped because no one really even remembers what happened back then and nobody fucking cares. And it's like, I should have done this because now I'm sitting here and there's no way to sell my work. I didn't create a name for myself during the momentum because I didn't want to do a cash grab. I was too patient. And yeah, I feel great about myself, but I'm broke.
Hmm. Hmm.
I hear this a
Hmm.
lot,
Hmm.
and I think there is something to be said about that, especially within our space because things move like light year speed. And if
Hmm.
you don't capitalize on momentum, not only do you miss out on an opportunity to make money, which as artists you need to do, like it's
Hmm.
just a requirement, but you're missing out on the momentum that could possibly elevate your name to that next catalyst point for that next bull run that happens next time. And if
Absolutely.
you just wait, and next thing you know, it's 2030 and you still haven't dropped.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Absolutely. And I agree. I remember this was way before NFTs. I was having conversations with artists, teachers, back at Least School of Art, one in particular, and there was two really, and talking about the value of money as an artist.
Mhm.
And they were artists like, well, the greatest artists make their greatest work when they're starving and
How
destitute and
romantic.
depressed. And yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm like, so you don't think that if an artist becomes successful, financially successful, and has that stability, you don't think they can make great art? It was like, well, it's like, I don't think so. Like, I completely disagree. And long story short, 15 years later, I think personally, I think I'm making the best art I've ever made in my life because I have the resources, I have the time, I can take a year without going like, holy crap, I need to pick up some waitering jobs, or maybe some part-time teaching jobs to just to pay the rent. I can literally focus entirely on my work and
Freedom.
take the time I need, the freedom, yeah, to
Yeah.
really explore, to develop ideas, to take the time to create the best work I can possibly do in this amount of time. And so, yeah, I do think that honestly, for all the artists listening, if you have the opportunity to make money, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I feel good about that. I mean, okay, don't fucking scam people, don't pull
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
rug, none of
Don't make
that.
meme coins if you don't
Yeah,
understand what you're
yeah,
doing.
yeah, 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 actually, yeah. But yeah, I mean, if the bull run comes, the next one comes, and you have the chance to do some kind of crazy drop that will generate large amounts of money, do it. Do it because then that gives you the stability and opportunity and network, to create amazing things.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about scarcity, especially within this space, because if you go, and a good example is like if you go into any gallery, you're going to see an overabundance of work.
Hmm.
If there wasn't any work for sale, then you wouldn't be in that gallery and there'd be nothing to buy. So it's like you should have work for sale. And I know that everyone thinks like there's a stigma where they always need to be sold out. Everything needs to be sold out, or you look like you're unsuccessful and nobody's going to want to buy your art. And within the Web 2 space, like I had a couple galleries, so it was easy to just say, yeah, this is sold. Sorry,
Hmm.
and I would release huge editions, 700-piece editions. And a lot of people would say, well, that's crazy. These aren't going to get collected out. But I look at the long term of my legacy and I think, well, it might not sell out in 5 years from now, but I'm looking at 50 years from now. And I'm thinking over a long term period of time, this will eventually sell out. And even if it doesn't, I want to hold on to these editions and I want to put them in the numbers that like this is how I want to release it. And I think that with Web3, it's a lot harder because if you don't sell out of the editions, there's no way to hide it. It's like
Hmm.
an immediate, just literally a sign on you that just says, I suck. Like that's how it feels. It's like, I couldn't sell out my editions. I suck. We've seen it so many times happen within our space. And I think we need to get over that stigma.
I think it's starting to change. I
Is it
think I think it's starting to change. And
good?
again, like I was listening about Subiam in a chat. What was it? I think it was Justin Aversano, yeah, yesterday, the day
Yeah.
before, and yeah, and they were talking about the artist Manic, who literally just like sold out. And there's been a number of artists in the last I've seen over the last few months, 4 or 5 months, who had collections that were sitting there for ages, and then something happens. maybe X copy buys one or something like that. And
Yeah.
then, I mean, you usually take
That's all it
something
takes.
that was, yeah. And then
Yeah.
boom, it's completely sold out and it's
Yep.
been sitting there for ages. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with having it work. But again, the the scarcity thing, like you can't just keep on putting out 5 101s a week. And
Ye-
if you're not selling any,
Right.
there needs to be some kind of method to what you're doing. You can't just keep on putting out PFP projects here and there, or this and that. And if you're not selling, if in 2 years time, 3 years time, you've only made a few sales and you literally have thousands of work, um, it doesn't matter. I think by then it's too late. I think
Yeah.
because there are going to be so many other artists who haven't done that, who have been a bit more careful about what they're doing, how they're minting, why they're minting, what they're dropping, when, what the vision is, the long-term goal is, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It's
So
your
yeah,
intention. I
yeah,
think it comes
exactly.
down to intention, right? Because it's if you just continuously mint, just maybe don't plan on selling. Like that's the thing is like if you're going to continuously mint art, just know that long-term vision, you might not sell. That
Mhm.
if your strategy is to constantly sell out and make a ton of money, then you need to methodically plan this out and figure out how am I going to strategize my drops so that they will consistently sell out so I can bring value to my collectors. But it's an interesting dynamic because with traditional art, at least when I sold art, there was never an intention to bring value to the collectors in the sense that I hope they can resell it for more money.
Yeah,
That,
yeah,
that was never in my mindset. It's like when you sell a print at the art gallery, it'll be a miracle if you can literally get what the fucking wood is worth off the frame.
yes,
And
yes,
that's just until I'm dead or until I'm just this huge world renowned artist. That's kind of part of it. And you're investing in the not just me, but you're investing in, I like this art and I'm just going to put it on my wall and maybe it'll be worth something. But with this space, there's an intention to bring floor value. There's intention to, to bring some type of value to your collectors. And I think that's hard and I think that's why we saw a lot of artists fizz out in the
mhm,
last few years because that's hard for people to maintain grasp when you have a lot of people coming at you, especially like in this degenerate part of the cycle where
mhm.
you've got people when
Horrible.
Lambo, when floor price. So I think for artists, that's very hard for them to grasp and facilitate. But I think you have done that quite well in the sense that you have strategized your releases, you continue to maintain a floor price. Is there anything that you've done particularly because there is there is some type of method to your madness.
I
And
don't know what it is yet.
and I don't know what it is, but it works. And is it just maybe that is it? Is that it's just chaos? And this is how I operate?
Yeah, I think that's a very good observation. Because I don't even know what I'm doing. I mean, I
Yeah.
think actually, let me rephrase it. I think now with this exhibition with Exposed, the work that I'm doing, I'm starting to see this thread that runs right back to even 2012 with QR code paintings. We're talking
Hmm.
whatever 15 years type thing, 12, 13 years, and um yeah, so I think what I'm doing now is it's finding actual understanding of what I've done in the past. Before it was chaos, it was complete madness. I mean, there was every project that I worked on, um, there was the intention, there was the intent and the hope. Um, 9 times out of 10 things failed. But there was always, okay, what am I doing? I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to try this, I'm going to experiment with that. Here's something new. Um, and even right through my painting career, from abstract paintings to landscapes to figurative to portraits to, and then when started using technology, it's like, okay, now I've got new mediums. I'm going to try this, and here's animations, and here's augmented reality, and now I've got AI, and I mean, if I'm not sure if you can see here, but it's like my whole table is just filled with like the whole space is just all tech. So I mean, 3 days a week, David, my friend tech, technologist is in here working away on things for the exhibition. But going back to, I think I do feel now that what I'm doing with the themes of Expose, I'm starting to get an understanding of what I am, who I am, and what I'm doing. Um, I think, well, the three core themes of Exposed are AI surveillance, which is obviously very topical and relevant today. We're all consumed by this and tracked by these, and
Yep.
data mined, and and soul information sold. Then faith and religion, which has run through my whole life, and especially probably the last 7 years in this space. And rebellion. Do we have free will still in a world that's consumed by technology, and AI tracking?
Hmm.
Do we have agency, personal agency? Can we rebel? So these three kind of core themes of AI surveillance, God, and rebellion. And I've always rebelled. I've always been a disruptor. Um, so that's what this exhibition is about. But then also kind of thinking long term, and it took me 7 years in this space, and to see how things have progressed. That the technology is progressing. The people who are in the space, so many amazingly talented individuals from all different sectors. And I put out that tweet that went viral
I
a
was going to
while
ask you about
ago.
that. Yep. Your thread. Might as well just
Yes,
dive into it.
the big thread about what I think, the greatest artists in the future will be exploring, and
Yep.
the 11 points that I kind of elaborated on. And so, that's, and things like immersive experiences. Again, we're only becoming more digital, not less. So as the hardware is more and more improved, the spaces, the galleries, the commercial galleries with screens or virtual reality experiences, or all these different things, immersive, it's going to be interactive. There's going to be kind of community driven art, that's you can experience art and have a relationship with this artwork in connection with other people anywhere around the world. I do see that the future of art moving into a fully digital, immersive, um, connective experience. And so, yeah, I put out that controversial tweet. I did preempt it with the first tweet being a way just to provoke a response, and holy shit, it did. But I was laughing. I mean, after, when it just blew up, and the next day I messaged Bat CPM, and we were laughing. He was like, "Holy shit, Trev! Like, you literally caused World War III."
The group
And he
chats
didn't.
are just fucking
Yeah,
losing it.
he didn't even, like, I said there was a list. I didn't even say who was on the list. I just said there is a list, and that made people even crazier. It was he's he's like, you didn't even say who was on the list, and that's the thing. Like, who was on the list doesn't really matter. I mean, that's quite arbitrary. It was why they were on the list, and I could have replaced, and actually, of the 69 artists that I put on that list, they were all artists that I admired and I liked. I might not like them as a person, but I like some of what their art, or that they're doing things that they tick those 11 boxes that I'd put out there. um and I could have quite easily put another 69 artists on that list too, and just, but it's that people don't want to be ranked. They don't want to know that there's tiers. And when there's tears of crying. so
Yeah.
so it wasn't, yeah, I wasn't trying to cause a shitstorm, but
Right.
it did definitely get people talking. What did you think about it? Did you did you jump on, like, how dare you, Trevor?
Yeah,
Tears.
I actually made a dartboard with your face on it. No, I think, and I know this is obviously super controversial, but I think it's super important. And I know people are going to consider it gatekeeping, but there needs to be curation. It's just essential. And the reason is because when we're onboarding collectors, the majority of them are not going to have the time or the patience to sit on Twitter and learn the lore, to learn what people are talking about, to learn the history. They want to buy art. They want to buy art they like, and they want to buy art that's been curated properly so they're not buying the wrong art. The best thing we can possibly do is continue to make lists, to curate, to make tier systems. And I hate to say it because it's like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm never on those lists, man. I'm never tagged on those lists. And I'm a fucking artist and I get it. It's
I put you
part of
on
it.
my list. You're on my 69.
Bro, I thank you. But that's part of it. Like that's part of the evolution of an artist, I believe, is
Yeah.
that you look at those lists and you could either say, well, fuck that person. They should have put me on the list. Or you can grow some thick skin and you could say, all right, I got to keep trying harder. I got to keep showing up. I can't stop creating. And at the end of the day, there's no reason that you need to take validation outside of yourself. Look in yourself, say, this is why I make art. I like my art. I put it on my fucking wall at the end of the day. If nobody likes it, that's fine. I'm the one
Yeah.
who's putting it on my wall. Like I'm the one who has to like it the most. So I think the lists are important in the sense of like collecting, making money, establishing yourself. These are important things. And most of these lists are created with how much work you've put in. Like this is the part, like that's it. Like if you've put in the work, you're going to most likely end up on those lists. And if you don't, that's okay too, because
I
eventually
don't
you
end up
will.
on those lists either. Honestly, I don't. I mean, it was just one came out. Was it the Kate Voss
Yeah,
book?
yeah.
Yeah, 2 days
Not
ago.
on that.
I'm not on it. It's like,
Yeah.
10 years of digital art and or on chain art. I'm like, but again, what it is I think it was 39 collectors basically, you know, saying what their collection is made of, their favorite pieces in their collection. So it doesn't
Right.
really have anything to do with, the best artists. And I think, and again, that my list, it wasn't even about artists. So I think those lists are silly. I think when you say, okay, the top 100 artists, and
That's
you
hard.
know,
Yeah.
I think those are just ridiculous. They don't make any sense. I mean, there's obviously they're political. There's
Right.
agendas, and who owns what, who's backing who. I mean, a good example. I like I never won an award. I've been rejected from every single art competition I
Same.
entered since
Yeah, same.
2008, since I graduated. I never got any work in the Royal Scottish Academy Open Exhibition. What I did in 2014, after the third year of rejection, I actually, this is my disruptive phase came in. I snuck in. I was working for the Arts Cherry at the time, and we had a small fund where we could buy one artwork from the Royal Scottish Academy, which is basically open. Anybody in Scotland can submit a work, a painting, print to the Royal Scottish Academy. And this
Okay.
was the 188th annual open exhibition of the Royal Scottish Academy. So it's very prestigious.
Okay.
And I got rejected for the third year in a row with my augmented reality crazy paintings. And so I got angry, and uh, because I was able to go in the day before and buy an artwork for our art and health collection, I also took photographs of all the artwork on the walls, which is about 400. And I went home that night, madly augmented reality, all AR, all of them into my work. So, well, about 60 of them. I ran out of paintings of my own
Wow.
images. The few days before, I got given like an opening night ticket, which was like a nice kind of A5 ticket invitation to the prestigious opening night of the 188th annual Royal Scottish Academy Open Exhibition. And I found a print shop on Leith Walk that counterfeited 25 of them for me.
Oh my
So I
God.
gave those to my friends. They all downloaded my augmented reality app, and then I filmed them at the opening night, scanning all the artwork, and it was all my artwork on the wall. So I transformed that show into the Trevor Jones solo show,
I
and
love that.
it was crazy. And I got some hate. He was the president of the Visual Arts Scotland at the time. I I got the video. I I was scanning his artwork with my iPad. Somebody else was filming it, and this woman comes up to me. There's people wandering around, like, this is back in 2014. They had no idea what augmented reality was, and I'm scanning it, and they're seeing my artwork on top of his on the iPad, and they're going like, "What the heck?" And then this woman comes up and she's like, "What are you doing to that artwork?" I'm going like, I hijacked it. It's mine now.
It's
I put my
stolen.
artwork on it. It's like it was like every work was framed perfectly. I made a joke about it on the website. I said, like, it's times are tough as an artist. You can't make money. Putting on your own solo show is expensive. Buying the wine, framing the artwork. So I hijacked the Royal Scottish Academy. All the wine was already there. I didn't have to frame my work; it's already framed. And she comes up and she's like, "That's my husband's work." It was the president of Visual Arts Scotland,
Oh
and
my
he
God.
emailed me a couple days later. It's like, hello, Trevor. I think what you were doing was interesting. However, I'm quite disappointed. And he just went into how dare you kind of disrespect the institution of the Royal Scottish Academy in so many years
Oh
and
my God.
tradition. And I'm like, oh, fuck off. I thought
Fuck
at that
off.
point I'd already destroyed my career anyway.
I have the
But
freedom to do what I want.
yeah, so going back is like, you know, you just you do what you want to do. I you trying to get on lists, and play or being part of the in crowd, doesn't mean you make any more money.
No.
Maybe sometimes it does, but not always. You're on a list. Who
Yeah.
cares? It doesn't mean you're more successful. Doesn't mean your art's better. So yeah, I mean, all these lists, yeah, it's a
Well,
waste.
it's hard. I've curated, I think like maybe 6 photography galleries so far for the Web3 space. I was, in 2021, I did the Art Basel one, and there was no NFT photography galleries. They didn't even exist. There was no exhibits for us. When I showed up at NFT NYC, we had like, 10 minutes on stage for photography, and they're like, get out of here. They didn't care about us. So I realized at that moment, I'm like, I'm not in the circle and I don't have a seat at the table. So why not make my own table?
Hmm.
Why not make my own circle and make it
Hmm.
stronger? Let's gather the masses. Let's get the photographers together. And so when I did that first photography exhibit in Art Basel, I think I chose like 40 or 50 photographers, and I said the top photographers of Web3, because I didn't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm just talking, man. I'm just
Yeah.
tweeting and trying to get photography out there, and I'm trying to sell some art. So I'm like the top photographers of Web3. The amount of shit I got, because I only thought there was 50 of us at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't even know there had been people onboarding outside in Twitter. So I'm just, these aren't the top, how can you say that? And it's like, I get where you guys are coming from, but you have to understand where I'm coming from, which is just, I'm trying to elevate photography. I can't put 300 people on this list. It just
Mhm.
doesn't work like that. I'll put you in the next one. I'm not going to stop here. I'll put you in the next one and the next one. But as of right now, I got 50 names and this is what I can do. And people will fucking lose their shit over that. And it's hard because as a sensitive artist, you're getting hundreds of DMs. Fuck you. Why wouldn't you put my name on this? And then at the same time, you're trying to sell your art. So you're just like, dude, I wasn't even trying to make I think it's a very hard, like a fine line that you have to operate within this space when you make a tier list. But I think what
Mm.
you did was perfect because you just kind of gave the structure of what creates a great artist. People can agree or not agree, but the point is that this is how I feel is a great artist. And sorry, but there's only a handful of you here.
I changed it. So I actually didn't put anybody in the top tier.
Yeah, you
Um,
didn't. There was nobody. I was like, sorry, man.
Nobody. The
It's
problem
just
is
not
how
going to
there were
work.
more people, especially the collectors. There were a few collectors. Like, how dare you not put my artists who I'm back in the top tier? They're top tier. Uh, I did get like a lot of positive as well, a lot of positive feedback from it. There's a lot of people, and that's what I find really interesting, and human nature in general. A really good one was Chikai, the collector artist.
Yeah, I love him.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, seeing his progress, his career as an artist in a very short amount of time and develop, it's like, he's very good. He's very talented and he takes things very seriously and he thinks about things. He's a very deep thinker. And he actually took my 11 points and he actually wrote a thread about how he kind of rates himself on each one of those. He said, I found this as a really, really useful exercise to objectively look at what I'm doing and how it fits within this different context of how I've never thought before. And that is an artist who will be successful and who will always grow. And I've had other comments from number of people who just said, I'm not even reading this because it's just going to be a waste of my time.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about,
Yeah,
Trevor.
you're an idiot. Who the fuck are you anyway? So, and those kinds of people, they will always be the ones who make excuses as to why they're not successful. They're not finding any success because they're not willing to open up their mind to new things, whether you
Mhm.
agree with it or not. There was another artist. I think I wrote his name down here. Where is it here? Oh yeah, no, Nomads and Vagabonds. Do you know him? Nomads
I
and
don't think
Vagabonds.
s I don't think
He
so.
he quote tweeted me and wrote a very long thread as to why he thought I was wrong and completely off base, or not completely off base, but what he disagreed with, and it was exceptionally well thought out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is amazing. So I retweeted him and quote tweeted him and said, like, this is fantastic. I love this dialogue.
Yeah.
And then he actually even wrote at the end kind of 5 points that he felt were more important that I missed because mine were more about um it wasn't about the art. It was about the how to establish yourself as a financially successful artist, what you could potentially need to do to find some kind of success,
Yeah.
how reach for success. And he wrote yeah, his points were the artist's conceptual and critical criteria, conceptual rigor, a powerful, coherent idea at the heart of the work, aesthetic innovation, a unique and evolving visual language, critical reflexivity, engaging with the systems like Web3 tech markets rather than ignoring them, effective resonance, moving the audience emotionally or intellectually, and historical and cultural relevance, being aware of what came before and responding to today's movement. So I
Huh.
said, like, this is fantastic. These
Yeah.
are what we said, like, our two, we weren't in conflict. They just together, my 11 points and his 5 points come together to create a fuller understanding of what I think artists should think about when they are creating work. Again, depending on what their long-term goals are.
Well, I think you need to remain open-minded, especially as an artist, because the most important thing you can do is learn the opposition, to learn the other side. In politics, I will constantly read the side that I don't agree with more than the side I do agree with because I already
Mhm.
agree with that side. I already understand the talking points. It's like
Yeah.
now I need to see why 50% of these people who might be extremely intelligent and
You're
why
one
I
of the
don't understand.
few in America to do that, I think.
Yeah, yeah, right? It's like there's no question that there might be somebody who's smarter than you and they might have a different opinion and if you should probably take the time to learn it because it could open your mind and you realize, "Oh shit, do you know how many times I've been fucking wrong, Trevor?" I can't even count the amount of times I've been wrong and then look back and go, "Oh man, I thought I was so right. I was like so highly convicted of this opinion." One of them, I thought the meme coin Bowden was going to go to like 50 billion. Like I was telling my friends to buy this coin at $1 billion market cap. Like it's going to go higher. I don't think there's anything funnier in crypto right now than this meme token. Like that's where I was at with it. And I was so like convicted in this. I was throwing like 100 grand in this thing like every couple of weeks. Like I don't even care. Like I know where I'm going with this. Fuck everybody. And then it goes to 1 million, literally 99% drop.
Oh
And you got to
no.
go, maybe sometimes I'm fucking wrong.
Yeah, we've all been there. But you also like you said, you have to always look at the other side, and I think that's one of the worst things happening in history right now in the West is that people aren't doing that. We are not looking, and it's so. Another example of that, but on the art side. So in first year art college, I got in and I'm going like, I'm going to be a figurative painter. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a realist painter, abstract as shit. It's meaningless. It's the emperor's new clothing type stuff. And I was looking at fourth year degree shows, and I'm going like, man, this is just crap. It's like, oh my god, like this abstract stuff. It's just throwing like I could do that when I was 4 years old type thing. And then by third year, I'm going like, okay, I'm going to actually start looking into this. And I started looking into things like color theory, um, you know, colors and motion, um, synesthesia. Um, and as I was reading more, um, I was becoming more interested in it and more knowledgeable. And then one thing happened. I went to Milan. It was after the summer after third year, and I went to the Gallery of Modern Art there. And there's this enormous room, huge. It was absolutely huge. There were, I think, four, maybe five paintings, two maybe on one, but they were enormous paintings. Four of them were at least 16th, 17th historic history paintings, huge, huge, absolutely like a kind of Rembrandt type thing, but massive, absolutely massive. Religious scenes, just exceptional technique. You know, uh, the kind of painting that you would look at and just stand in front of for hours and looking at every single detail and every single fold of cloth, and how did they paint that, and how did they get those textures to make it look like textures, and so I'm looking at these paintings, and at the very far end, which is probably, I don't know, 60 feet away, it was huge, long further, maybe even 80, 100 feet away, I saw this giant red painting, just a huge, huge red painting on the other side of the wall. And it had like a little strip of yellow down the middle and two strips of blue, or it was a strip of blue and two strips of yellow. And that was it. And it looked like, I'm as the closer and closer I walked towards it, and immersed in these beautiful masterpieces and a beautiful building as well, just a gorgeous, gorgeous building. And I'm getting closer and closer to this painting. And the closer I get, the more angry I'm becoming and the more anxious I'm getting. And I can actually, at getting closer, start to feel my heart rate get speed up. And I'm like, I was getting literally angry. I'm thinking, like, this is fucking bullshit. Like, what? This is blasphemy. Why would he put such a shitty, shitty painting? It looks like it's just been rolled on with a roller, like house paint, red with some stripes on it, in this spectacular place, this place of, that has like a religious like feel to it with these paintings.
Yeah.
And then you get right up to it, like literally I'm standing this far away from it, and the hair on my arm stands up and on my neck, and this terrible sense of dread, this like I've never felt anything like it, just dread that I'm enormous weight on me and fear. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And I walk over to the side where the info plate was, and the title was "Who's Afraid of Red, Yellow, and Blue" by Barnett Newman, I think 1956 or something. And that just literally punched me in the face. I'm thinking, like, holy crap, there's something here that I don't understand and I need to know more. And
Yeah.
that's when I started to investigate and explore and read about color theory, and how colors like red and blue actually have physiological effects on the body. If you walk into a room that's all red, your heart will speed up. You will feel anxious. And if then things like, back in the old days, you go to these all you can eat buffets and they make the plates blue because the blue would apparently suppress your appetite. So they knew that they would eat less if everything was blue around. So it's starting to learn about color, and then I began to explore that in painting. And next thing you know, I'm an abstract painter. And for the next 8 years, I'm painting abstract painting. So I went from literally despising the concept, the idea of an abstraction, to being completely consumed by what you can do as a painter when you open your mind and you're able to explore things like, rhythm and pattern and color and emotion and time. I mean, all these different abstract concepts without representative painting, without having to paint, here's a figure and here's a person doing this, or that kind of thing. So yeah, that's going back to keeping your mind open and being objective, and really looking at, if you really despise something, try your best to figure out what it is that you hate so much about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. How has that affected, do you think, your art form? Like, how has it evolved because of this open mind process? Like, you started with something and now, you're doing crypto art.
I think, again, it's just helped me to keep my mind open to any, and also the fact that I've painted so many different genres or
Yeah.
themes, from abstraction
What
to
did you start with?
well, I started figurative. Yeah, so my
Okay, yeah,
first and second
figurative.
year, I was more figurative, representational, then abstraction from, 3, 4, and 5, year 3, 4, and 5, last years, up until about 2011. I was still, my first 2 solo shows were abstract, pure abstraction, and then 2012 was QR codes. So again, that was opened up my mind. It's like, okay, I can paint a QR code. That's interesting. I spent a year with a paintbrush in my hand and a phone in the other, um, trying to using 30% error correction when I created these QR codes that would then I would paint them, that I could be quite expressive with the paint. I didn't have to just paint pure straight lines, black on white, or that kind of thing. I could actually create um, a painting that was very expressive, different colors, different contrasts. I would be playing with all the different shapes and lines. But then it would get to the point where I'd push it too far and it wouldn't scan anymore. So I'd have to keep on just experimenting, tightening up some lines and some of the shapes so that they would actually start scanning again. And yeah, it was crazy. It was really, really
Yeah.
interesting.
So you've been doing this for almost 20 years now, right? About
Um,
2008.
2008. Yeah, yeah. So
So you,
17, 18 years.
yeah, so you've evolved a lot as an artist. Your styles have evolved, like your craft, the way you produce work. But do you think that do you think that art school had a huge effect on who you are as an artist today? Like, if you think if you had completely just skipped out of art school, you'd be here right now. Because I think a lot of artists go to art school thinking that that's going to make them who they are. You know, like a lot of
Mhm.
photographers will come to me out of photography school and say, "Well, now what?"
Yeah.
And it's like, "Well, now you take photos."
Mhm.
You know?
It's a good question. Because I really didn't like art college. I
Yeah.
did this really unique course. It was a 5-year course. So I was back and forth between campuses from Edinburgh College of Art studying and practical drawing and painting, which I specialized in, and then studying history of art at the university. And I applied to this program. I think 28 students or 27 students who were accepted into it. No idea why they let me in. But I managed to get in thinking that I don't know anything about art. I did a foundation year at 31 years old, and
Yeah.
I know how to mix paint, and I can draw a figure with charcoal or pencil, but I don't really know anything about art, the history of art, so by taking this program, this unique program, I spent 5 years studying history of art at the university, and I went in thinking I will hate the university and I will just thrive at the art college. And it was the opposite. I loved the university. I loved learning. It was more structured.
Hmm.
Um, I, I, I felt like I was just learning, day after day after day after day. Whereas with art college, it's an expensive studio. You come in the first couple of years, there's more intensive one-on-ones, that kind of thing. But by third year, fourth year, and fifth year, I didn't see my tutors at all. Um, Especially fourth year and fifth year. So you're literally just paying for studio space. Um, I put in a complaint against one of the tutors in my fourth year who, also, I wasn't a kid. I wasn't like 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so I had expectations. I'm paying to be here. And my fourth year painting tutor, I saw him 3 times all year for about a half hour.
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
dude, yeah, and we actually had a conversation. I pulled him aside the very first day showed up on in December. So school starts, September, and he's
Yeah.
walks into the studio. And it's like with his clipboard. So okay, Trevor, how you doing? I'm doing good. Who are you? He goes, I'm your painting tutor. I'm like, it's December. Where have you been? So long story short, I put in a complaint at the end of the year. Unfortunately, I found out the politics of colleges, and he was their golden boy. He was internationally acclaimed. Art colleges get funding based on the talent that they have working for them, so they would get extra funding because of who he was, but he wasn't there to teach. So that's you know the the strange kind of relationship of bringing in high level teachers who don't, he's there for the reputation, get some decent money, but he doesn't care about the students. So anyway, I put in a complaint, had a big meeting with the head of drawing and painting at the end of the year, had a mediator in there. Um, Ended up,
Wow.
that was my fourth year. I still had my fifth year left. That year I was working entirely on my dissertation at the university and my degree show, solo degree show, and I almost failed the degree show. The guy who I put a complaint in, he was on the panel
Oh
judging
God.
my show as well. So I got like a C minus. I mean, it was a disaster. And yet at the university with my dissertation, I got an A plus. I got like a first class honors. Um, I ended up that degree show. I sold everything. Absolutely every one of my paintings sold. I was
Wow.
myself and one other artist in the entire college sold out their degree shows. So I'm thinking like, how can I almost fail and yet everything sells? You know, there's
Yeah.
something going on here politically that, so yeah, long story short, with regards to art college, um, I'm really glad I did the university to get a solid foundation on the history of art. What I learned at the art college was to um, do everything the opposite of what they say. Literally, do not
Yeah.
listen to your tutors. Do what you want to do. What's that? If you can't do, teach. And
Right.
so, I mean, I did have some good tutors. I don't want to completely disparage them entirely, but in all, the art college was a complete disaster.
I I think there's something to be learned from this because what I'm hearing is that in order to become a great artist or to learn to make art, you need to learn the history of art, to learn who's created art, how they've created art, how they've mastered their skills, what they did, the history of these artists. And going and taking a class on how to make art might not work as well. It's kind of like those gurus that are going to teach you how to make money, or you
Mhm.
could just listen to a few podcasts on where does money come from and how is money made, and then you can finally just go, all right, you know what? I think I'm ready. I don't really need to learn how to make money. I understand money.
Exactly.
I think it's
Exactly.
with art. I
Yeah.
understand art now. I don't need to learn
Yeah.
to make it.
Yeah. I think there are great art teachers. Um, Probably two varieties. One, let's say you want to learn the art of photography or you want to learn the art of painting, that they will be able to show you step by step, and you'll have to find, and also just give you quality advice on how to find your own voice, that kind of thing. And then there's the more kind of philosophical teachers who, yeah, again, will teach you. They might not know all the technical ability. So some of the tutors I had at art college, even though they weren't draw painters, maybe they came from film or they came from something else, they could still give me quality advice on things to think about. Maybe some different artists to look at that weren't painters.
Yeah,
So yeah, there are great teachers, but there's a lot of shitty teachers at art colleges. A lot.
I
I
believe
think they
that.
do more damage than good, to be honest.
Do you think you're going to be painting for the rest of your life, or do you see something else like making movies or uh, opening up your own restaurant? Call like w-
That was always my dream, open up a restaurant. But no, not anymore. It's way too difficult to be. I've still got
yeah.
friends running restaurants, and it's hard work. I'm too
You're
old for
just gonna
that.
paint? Is there any like I see like the reason I ask this is because like I see your craft evolving. Like you've changed obviously many paths with your art, and I think for most artists, they're not necessarily chasing the craft as much as they're just chasing their dreams. They
Uh-huh,
do what they
uh-huh,
love.
uh-huh.
You do what you love. Do you think that there's something else in the cards in the future?
I think there is. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Um, I think I'm 55. Um, I'm not a young buck anymore.
Yeah, spring chicken.
um, I see myself always painting, but maybe less than I am now. I think I will continue to explore different ways because I get excited about an idea and how to communicate that idea. It started with painting. And now as I continue to move forward, especially in this space, it speeds up, and the the people you meet, the ideas, the technology is changing. Um, I could see myself. I would like to, with this exposed exhibition coming up, I see it as a beginning point for
Hmm.
something to potentially be much larger, a much bigger immersive space, um, that really, really pushes the boundaries of art and technology and the three core themes that I'm exploring. Um, and then taking it from there. But also, you know, Violet and I bought this flat, quite a while ago, and we still live in the same flat that I've been in for since 2012. Um, it's a nice flat, but
Yeah.
it's not crazy, at all. It's like not, you
It's
know,
not a castle.
no, it's not a castle. Um, I like the idea of at some point my big art project being like building a house. I mean, not me physically building it, but
Ooh,
designing it
yeah,
and and working with an architect and buying some land somewhere, whether it's the north of Scotland or Portugal or someplace, and building a dream house that has all the cool things, and a studio that that has lights, windows at the top and amazing lights, and has all the stuff that we need to, whether rather than, I mean, the studio I've got right now, again, I've had this for 15 years, the studio,
yeah,
and it does the job, but it could have a better studio, nicer studio, bigger studio, be able to have a place to put all the paintings in one area rather than leaning up against walls and getting damaged, with water and whatever it is. So yeah, I like that will be, maybe my final big
yeah.
art project is just to build a house that is a dream house, and
Well,
a place for not just making art, but for creating ideas to have other people around, other artists, to have maybe big enough where we do like little arts residencies, just bring friends over, people who want to come over and just work for a month, maybe have like a guest house, and just bring people over and live life, drink
yeah.
wine, eat good food, and make art with friends.
Well, it's funny because we touched on comfort being the killer of creativity, and you kind of said, like comfort has actually allowed me to make better art. Do you think that um that applies to most artists? Like, because I like you're saying you're still in the same flat, right? You haven't
Mhm.
upgraded. Is
No.
there a reason? Is it a matter of do you think comfort might be a killer of creativity? Like
Yeah,
hidden,
that's
like
a
if
good
I
point.
upgraded,
Maybe
if,
subconsciously. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, like
No, it's no. Stop it.
you think if I upgrade to a castle, I'm just gonna stop painting?
That's a good point. I've not thought about that. No, it's really only about, Violet and I just can't agree on a place where we want to live together. So we have two houses in different countries. Um, yeah, I mean, I never said that I would live in Scotland. I never thought I'd live in Scotland for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I love Scotland. Edinburgh is just a gorgeous city.
so
Um,
beautiful.
it's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, it's safe. It's clean for the most part. It's convenient. Has everything we need.
Yeah,
Um,
gas
but
is
the
like
weather's,
$12 a gallon.
yeah. It's okay. You got a Tesla. Um,
There you go.
that's been my only major purchase since,
That's
in,
amazing.
yeah, that's it. We still shop at Little, which is like the cheap grocery store just around the corner. I buy my clothes on Amazon. She goes to the, uh, the secondhand store. Violet doesn't buy new clothes. I mean, we literally live the exact same life we've always lived. Um,
You splurge on memories.
we splurge on travel. Yeah,
I've seen the tweets. You splurge on
yeah.
memories.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, travel and good restaurants, good food and wine, and that's it. I mean, I was very lucky with meeting Violet, because she is so um
Badass.
badass. Yeah,
She's so cool.
she's
She's
so
so
bad.
cool.
But money has zero relevance to her. She doesn't care about money. She cares about memories. She cares about the good things in life, like, um, you know, relationships and family, um, and laughs. So yeah, I was very lucky.
I love that. I didn't ask you this. Are you from Scotland?
No, no, I'm from Canada.
Okay, you're originally from Canada.
Yeah.
What got you to Scotland?
I so yeah, I was w- yeah, after my terrible time being trying to be a rock star, this disaster, I moved
A
back to
bass
the
guitar.
village, started working in a restaurant, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I did a year of community college, ended up moving to Calgary, Alberta for a couple months, got into an advertising marketing program. I quit after like 2 months. I just despised it. Went back, I was about 22 years old, went back to the village in British Columbia, didn't know what I wanted to do, was working at restaurants again. And then I was 25 and in the town, so the village was 1,200 people. The town I grew up, I was living at that time was
Wow.
about 30,000 people, called Vernon, and we had like two bars. One was a country bar for the oldies, and one was the nightclub. Um, and I was always going. There's nothing else to do, so you work and you go to the nightclub. So I went with a friend of mine. He had just come into town. He was a guy from Alberta. He was a hockey player. Um, he was a goon, a big guy, but he had like such a soft, sensitive side as well. Like I went to pick him up at his place that night, and he opened up the door. He was like in a, a bathrobe with his glasses on, reading a book. I mean, he was huge, and he was just such a nice, sweet guy. But he was also a fighter. And we went to the nightclub that night, and I lost him. I was inside, and I couldn't find him. I ended up going home and I had no idea what happened. I went out to my mom and dad's place the next day to visit them, and they had the radio on, and the just out of nowhere heard that it said Shane Massey was killed in a nightclub, a fight at a nightclub last night at Club 29 in Vernon, and I was
Wow.
like, my whole world just stopped, and
Wow.
still gets me.
Yeah, I bet.
So yeah, and the guilt, the absolute guilt I felt for not being there to help him. Um, three guys, he got into a fight with one guy, and then two others jumped in, and one guy kicked him in the head, and it was in the hospital, and it was all over the next day. So I decided to leave the village, got my passport, applied for my passport, saved up some money, and I took off to Australia 6 months later, and that's it. I left and wanted to get as far away from that place as I could.
Have you ever been back?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, my mom and dad passed away a few years back, but mom's still there. My sister's still there. I got two older brothers nearby, so yeah, I try to get back every at least once a year to see mom and my sister. But yeah, it holds a lot of good and bad memories, that place. So, but that's what, yeah, I decided I need to get out and go traveling, and that I left and never came back again to live.
I was about to say, what made you go from Canada to Australia, dude? That's such a jump. Like,
It was, I'd never been anywhere. I was just a small town country
yeah.
boy and spent a year and a half in Vancouver miserably, and went back to the village, and I thought, I need to get out of here. I need to leave. I need to get as far away from this place as I can. And I thought, well, Australia, they speak English, kind of,
They
and
have giant insects.
and it seems like a nice place to go to. So that's where I just bought a ticket and flew out there and spent about 6 months backpacking around. Ran out of money. I was doing a little bit of work here and there, but then got homesick, went back home for 6 months, and I think it was still just too much for me. As soon as I got back, I needed to leave again. So I saved up some money and took off to England in '98, and then
Okay.
just kept on traveling. I worked at various places, golf course, resorts, restaurants. Um, Ended up traveling around Scotland and Wales. then through Africa, all around Europe, back to Scotland again, not thinking that I would stay. Got a job working at the Hard Rock Cafe. Then I started partying, and we're back to the start. Where 3 years of crazy fun times, and then a few years of complete depression and antidepressants. So you
Wow,
literally
so,
know my entire life now.
dude, this is a cool story. You were basically just a transient vagabond.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were just traveling.
Trying to
And
find.
yeah, I could see why you eventually became an artist, though. Now it kind of adds up. Because most people don't choose the art career at 31,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
just not
yeah.
really a common.
I think a lot of people choose it in their like 50s and 60s. I was at the Edinburgh Art Fair on the weekend, and I met mostly women. Older women. Their kids are growing up. They're comfortable now, and they decide they want to be artists. And um, and I was talking to one woman there I just met. She's actually was American who moved to Scotland, met a Scottish guy, got married, um, and moved here 35 years ago. So she was probably in her late 60s, something like that.
Okay.
And really nice lady. And her husband passed away about 5 or 6 years ago. So she found art, and just like me, it gave her the ability to find respite in that moment, in the moment. And there was another woman as well, about the same age, and beautiful, beautiful paintings, and the same type of situation. So I think a lot of people, they find art at some point in their lives, but usually it's um, early on and they keep on going, or they quit, or later on when they actually have some financial stability and something happens, emotionally that hits them, and they need to find some way to deal with it and express themselves. But yeah, trying to find it at 30, 31, 32 years old and deciding to do like 6 years of education at that age is so ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. I think that there's when you get older, like I feel like you feel like there's so many regrets, right? Like that's what I'm discovering as I get older. It's like I have so many regrets for the things that I didn't do
Mm,
and didn't try because I was afraid that I might get hurt or someone might get. It's just like so many things that I should have done differently. And I think that's like the evolution of all of us, is how we grow, is that we look at these mistakes and maybe they didn't work out for a reason. And that's why we are where we're at today. It's just, these are the things that eventually evolve into who we are. And I think like when I look at it like long term about like what I want to do as a photographer, as an artist, I don't know if I'll be a photographer forever. I honestly don't know. I know that I picked up a camera in 2008 when the economy and everything was crashing and decided I'm going to be homeless and be a photographer and hopefully this works out. I never had an intention to sell my art, so I couldn't fail at it. I had
mm,
zero expectations for any of this shit. It was, I'm going to take photos. I really like Ansel Adams. Cool. This is how this works out. And then that turns into a story, which turns into the journey, which eventually becomes the artist that you are today. And I remember when I found NFTs, I was like, this is exactly where photography belongs. Almost like maybe I wasn't put here to make photos. Maybe I was put here so that I would finally find a place, a medium for photography for me to be able to sell and make a market. And I think for painters, for digital artists, for so many people, that's kind of what we saw in the beginning paradigm of what NFTs could be. One last question before I let you go. I've been here 2 hours. I don't want to keep you here forever, but where do you where do you think NFTs will go in the future, in the sense of, do you think this will be the way that we democratize art? Do you think that this is the original plan that we had, the dream that we had? Do you still think that pans out? Because what I see is that at some point, screens are going to be completely indistinguishable between a print and a screen. And by that point, I've talked to so many of my in real life collectors who have ran out of wall space
mhm,
and can't buy my art anymore and have no homes left, no super yachts left. They have nowhere to put this art. They want digital screens. They want a place for permanence, a place for accessibility. So I personally see it as like this is probably the future of art, and almost like maybe even takes over the traditional sense of prints and things like that, because the idea of an actual permanence on the blockchain that never goes away, can never be destroyed. And even going back a little bit is kind of a rant, but all the work that's in museums that's thousands, hundreds years old, most of it isn't even the original brushstrokes from the artist. It's been
Mhm.
restored so many times that it's not even the actual original art. We have no idea what that original piece might have even looked like because it's been changed so many
Yeah.
times. So I look at a blockchain and I go, well, that's the permanence of art. That's how we contain our legacy. So do you still believe that is the dream? I know it's like a very long ranted question, but
I will
where are NFTs going?
I will answer that, but first I want to ask you a question. Going
Yeah.
back to saying like you don't know if you'll always be a photographer. Um, I think you always will be a photographer. I mean, let's just say that right now. I mean, maybe you'll do different things, but you're a photographer and you see the world um, through the eyes of a photographer, and so you will always, whether you have I mean, we always have a phone on you, or
Yeah.
you have a camera. You'll take photographs. So, um, but saying that, if you aren't a photographer at some, what do you see yourself doing in the future? If you said, like, you know what, I'm done with photography for at least for the time being, for the foreseeable future, what do you see yourself doing?
I really like telling stories with my art. I'm really enjoying doing these podcasts where I'm meeting new people. I think where my art could eventually evolve into is maybe like docuseries.
Mm,
I've always wanted to go. I have a fascination with small towns, like really small
mhm.
towns. And I
Come to
want to go to
Lumby.
these.
Come to Lumby. That's where I grew up. It's
Dude, I grew up in a
you
small town.
you can do, every June there's a 3-day festival called what's it called, Lumby Days, and it's the kind of thing that needs a documentary. We got the beer garden, and Violet laughed because she went in and she goes, like, between all the people at the beer garden, they got one full set of teeth.
Yeah.
It's, you got like uh pro wrestling in a ring on the baseball field, and somebody doing chainsaw wood carvings, and
Oh
I
my
mean, it's
God.
just it's
I'll make a deal. I'll
incredible.
meet you out there. I'll meet you out there.
We'll do a documentary together. That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I
Where
love
did you
small towns, man.
where did you grow
I,
up?
I grew up in Marana area. Well, so I grew up all over. Like my parents moved me around a lot because like my mom was like in and out of prison and stuff. So like I got moved around a lot. But for the majority of like where my high school was and kind of like where I consider I grew up was Marana, Arizona. Like this tiny farmer town with, the population was probably a couple thousand when I lived there, if
Yeah.
even that. And, trailer homes. The high school was surrounded with barbed wire. There was only maybe 1,000 of us that went to that school. Like it
Wow.
just was a very small town.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, you come to Lumby. We'll do a documentary, and then I'll come
dude,
out
I'm
to
down.
Wayne, and we can do one there with you.
Yeah,
That'd be
I
hilarious.
love motion pictures, man. I love
Yeah.
documentaries. So yeah, I could see that happening.
Okay. That's a good answer. I thought you were just gonna say, like, I'm gonna pack it all in and become an accountant or something.
Yeah, maybe after I get a lobotomy or something, I become a
Yeah.
botanist or something.
So, okay, back to your question. And what do I see? Where do I see, like, the blockchain? I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
I see the future of art as digital. I I agree that, I mean, even we're running out of space. I mean, I've got so much art that I bought from
Dude.
physical art that I bought from, people,
Yeah.
and it's just sitting here still packaged up in the studio. It's like I
My
can't.
walls look like the
Yeah.
Salvation Army right now.
So definitely the future of art is digital. I know that the metaverse concept is kind of lost steam, with the
Yeah, a
whole,
little bit.
and a rise of AI and all that, as an investment. But screens, 100%. I think the tech will continue to improve. We were in Dubai in January and went to some galleries. Yeah, Mondor. I
Dude,
mean,
his
it.
screens?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
exactly. I mean, I see that
Mind
as the
blowing.
future. That's the
Yeah.
future of art, and
You get up
screens
an
that
inch
wrap
away.
around. Yeah, yeah. It's incredible. So living in spaces that is basically entirely screens and windows, and you're going to have all your art on display, rotating around. You can also put on your headsets and see it in spectacular virtual reality. But yeah, I I was talking about kind of the art market in general, and I'm sorry for always talking kind of finances, but that's just how my brain
No, I
works
love it.
too.
I
Like,
love it.
the the art market is give or take 60 billion annual, although it's taken a massive hit as well this last couple of years. But I see as the art market goes through its ups and downs, bulls and bears, it will continue to grow. And I see the digital art market overtaking the physical art market in the future. It might not be in 10 years, maybe 20 years. There will always be high value, high status pieces of work by dead artists as well as by up and coming artists, physical. But I think, yeah, within 15 to 20 years, the digital art market will surpass. It could be worth, 70 billion, and the
Yeah.
traditional market's worth 60, or, who knows. But that's right. And it's gonna take time. Um, I mean, if we're still alive, who knows? AI might kill us in the next 10, 15 years. So super intelligence, super AI, but
Well, I think a good example, dude, is MP3s. I've never heard my daughter say the acronym MP3,
yeah,
because it's dead. She calls it music, but I guarantee that the physical music industry does not make nearly as much as the streaming music industry.
no,
Not
no,
even close.
no, no. Yeah. Honestly, yeah, I'm all in on that. I mean, I
Oh
will
yeah.
always make physical work because I just like I like painting. I like that, and sculpting. It's something I would like to do more of. I haven't sculpted in years, but there's just something about making, and maybe that's the idea of building a house.
Yeah.
Not saying that I'm going to be cutting down the trees. Like, my dad actually built a log house from scratch when we were kids, and man, that was just incredible. He
Yeah.
was like a god to me. Like, you actually, it's like, did you ever make a house before? It's like, build a house. It's like, no, like, you basically just built a house from
Before
scratch.
ChatGPT.
Before ChatGPT. Yeah, he was a
What?
mechanic. So, I mean, he had a mechanical mind. He could take apart an engine, and rebuild an engine. I'm like, how do you can put like thousands of pieces back together and start it up? It's, he just had this incredible mechanical brain.
I
Um,
could never do that. I used to have to take
you know,
pictures of the car engine together and then take it apart and then put it back together using the picture.
At least you could put it back together. I'd put together and make it like into a cool sculpture, but it would never work again.
It would never actually run again, but it was a cool
No.
sculpture.
Yeah.
I love that. Dude, thank you so much for your time, Trevor. I've learned so much about you. I'm really glad that we got to sit down. I've known you for a while, and I've always wanted to hear how you got into art and your story. And it is more fascinating than I actually thought it would be. This is
Thank you.
really interesting, man. Like I expected a crazy story, but this is a lot more fascinating than I expected. I
Hopefully
will
the
have to.
craziness is kind of calmed down, and then I can, sail off in the sunset with Violet. But it's been amazing. I really enjoyed talking to you, John. I mean, I can't remember if we met. Might have been at
We met a
NFC.
consensus.
Was it Consensus the first time?
Yeah, when we both spoke on that stage together. It was the first
That's
time
right. Yeah.
I'd met
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I've always enjoyed seeing you IRL,
Yeah,
and
totally.
hanging out. I mean, yeah, and I got to know you more as well. I mean, we need to spend more time together.
We
Definitely.
definitely need to vibe.
Yeah.
I want to do a podcast with your wife too, because I
Okay.
know she has some
Okay.
beautiful art, and I have to hear her story as well, because I got to hear it now from the other side of Trevor.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And you'll have to bleep her bleeps out because she does love to swear.
Oh, fuck that. We'll go hard. I love it.
Okay. Lean
This
into
is,
it.
yeah, like we're all good with that. This is not meant for
Amazing.
children.
Brilliant. Well, I'll let her know. I'm gonna finish up here and head home and go see her.
Awesome, man. For anyone who's listening, who doesn't know who you are, where can they find you?
TrevorJonesArt.com as my website, and then on socials, Trevor Jones Art, X, Instagram, Facebook, whoever uses that. I don't, but yeah, basically Trevor Jones Art everywhere. You'll find me there. Don't read my Wikipedia page because
Don't
it's
read the
all
Wikipedia. It's a lie.
yes,
Awesome, man. Dude, thank you so much for your time, and let's do this again.
brilliant. Will do. Thanks, John. Nice to see you,
All right, brother. Talk soon.
man.